As we continue our series on town budgets voters will be weighing in on during the upcoming March town meetings, we return for a look at what Manchester's residents will be checking out. Manchester's Select Board held their now annual all-day preliminary budget review meeting back in December, and since then the proposal they'll be presenting to voters has been refined further. As approved by the Select Board, the budget calls for town expenditures of nearly $6.9 million, which is a slight decrease from last year's budget of slightly over $7 million. But voters will also get to consider special appropriations of about $423,000, which, if all are approved, would push the grand total of the budget to about $7.3 million, which is still less than last year's $7.4 million. The total share of the budget that would be financed by local taxes would jump by more than 14%, however, to about $4.88 million. That's different from the municipal tax rate, however. Recently, we met up with Manchester's town manager, Scott Murphy, to have him walk us through some of the highlights of the budget, including the municipal tax rate.
So we've got total expenses for town budget, which has actually gone down slightly, like 0.5%. So that is $6,896,000, and the other big thing is the expenses. The amount to be raised in taxes has gone up considerably, and that's mainly due to the offsetting revenue. So the revenues decreased quite a bit, 17-18%, and that forces the amount to be raised to be increased. I don't have the tax rate in front of me because the grand list hasn't been set yet. Gordon Black, our assessor, put together this little paragraph for our budget summary. It kind of says something like this, that last year's tax rate of 20.2588 showed a home paying on the municipal side $711, and approximately a little over $3,000 for the education side, for their tax bills of about $3,700. So this year's tax rate is estimated at 0.2932, and if we use those same hypothetical $275,000 home, the municipal portion of those taxes would increase by about $95 a year. No, there's nothing really exciting in this year's budget. I hate to say it like that. It's kind of bland. We have a few things planned that might be of interest. For instance, over at the rec park, we're proceeding with a new splash pad. We're also fixing up some of the infrastructure over there. We should be repaving that driveway. That's kind of a bumpy ride when you come into that, and we get lots and lots and lots of visitors and lots of traffic on that road. And there's a couple other things over there. So we consider that, like a gem, a nice asset for the community, and we're working really hard to keep that looking good.
Scott Murphy also discussed the special articles, the bulk of which stems from a request from the Manchester Community Library for $317,000. An $80,000 request from the North Shore Day School is the other big item.
The Select Board was very concerned about the size of the increase that the library is requesting. It's substantial. It's up to $317,000 now, up from $243,000 last year. It's 75% of the total appropriations requests, and I know the Select Board was very supportive of the library, and it's a great community asset, and nobody wants to see too many negative things about it, because it's a great positive thing for the town. However, there should be at some point, the Select Board felt that there should be some way to say, is enough enough? Is there a way for them to fund their operations in a different manner? We have no control over that, and so that'll go to the voters as part of an appropriations request.
Okay. The other thing I just wanted to get more clarity on was there was also a conversation at that board meeting where the budget was approved, where you shifted $40,000 from reserve fund to taxes. And I guess I just wondered if you could explain that. I mean, $40,000 in the context of a $6 million budget doesn't seem like a lot, but that seemed to kind of prompt I won't say an extended conversation, but a bit of a conversation.
So, excess money from the local options tax, there's a certain amount that's put from the local option tax towards reducing the budget, reducing the tax rate each year. And the select board sets that as part of approving this budget. And then the excess goes into this property tax relief fund. And occasionally, the select board has in the past used some monies out of that to supplement the amount of tax rate that they're reducing. And we had $40,000 built into the proposed budget up until that last evening of discussion. I think Heidi Chamberlain was the select board member that brought this to our attention and brought that to their attention, and they discussed it. And her feeling, and the board agreed, was that the taxpayers should be aware of how much impact these appropriation requests impact their overall tax payment, their bill. And so rather than take money out of this fund to reduce that, to soften the landing, they felt they should feel the full weight of it if they do approve those appropriation requests. We are trying to asking the voters to establish a police vehicle and equipment reserve fund, and to fund it with $40,000. That's two separate articles. We do that for clarity. But in almost every year, it seems like the police need to upgrade their technical equipment. And we are always like going back to the well, asking for where we're going to find this money. So we thought it might be prudent to establish a reserve fund, similar to what some of these other reserve funds were established for. So we could build a little bit of amount of kitty up for what we know is coming down the road as far as technical equipment for the police department.
Flood and climate resiliency is another item that's taken on added prominence since last summer's flooding, and Town Manager Murphy spoke to that as well.
Yes, well, we've got a lot done this last year. We actually got 4 or 5 projects finished late in the season, which was a great accomplishment. And a lot of that had to do with the warmer weather we had in the fall. Even though it was wet, we still got a lot of work done. So we were able to upgrade some key points in and around town, such as Rooteville Road and Butternut Lane and a couple other ones. Some work down at the Bournebrook, down by Richfield Road. So a lot of these things we got done late in the season, and the select board saw a presentation a month or so ago about what's going to happen in the future with the changing climate. And it seems to be that there'll be more and more of these events, high water events, flood events, stormwater runoffs. And what can we do to prevent that? So we had 2 scenarios presented to the select board. One was in Lye Brook, the floodplain, and one was Bournebrook. And so with both of those, the select board was very interested in following up on those. And so they actually, in approving this budget, set aside some money, I think a couple $100,000, to go towards a match that might help construct some of these big projects in Bournebrook and Lye Brook areas to prevent some of the downstream flooding, if you will. And so we're still looking into that with our local planning commission and with the consultants that presented to the select board. But it looks like that will be moving forward in the future if we can acquire some substantial federal grants for that, which, given that we have a serious need, provable need, and also we have some funding available for our match, it would put us in a good position to possibly receive those grants.
Manchester will hold its informational meeting on Saturday, March 2nd, at the Manchester Elementary Middle School, beginning at 1 p.m. This is typically when the town budget is decided upon. Australian ballot voting will take place the following Tuesday, March 5th, the official town meeting day, and the polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the town office building. There are 2 select board positions that will be up for grabs during the Australian ballot voting on Tuesday, March 5th. For the GNAT-TV News Project, I'm Andrew McKeever.